It's Canon R6 Mark II here versus Sony a7 IV. Two cameras, same price, different brands. I will be doing a series of reviews comparing both cameras, and in each video we'll focus on a certain topic. In part 1, we'll test the two cameras in still photography, discuss the ergonomic, user experience, and the major differences related to photography. Part 2, we'll cover the cameras in video mode. We'll go through the differences and video related features. And in part 3, we'll check the dynamic range and the noise in low light conditions. If you're watching me for the first time, consider subscribing to catch up with the upcoming reviews. Omahe, and let's get started. I got the two cameras for a portrait shoot. Dasha is making her career and now she works with a couple of brands in Dubai. About 2 years ago, I worked with her as well for a review for the original Canon R6 versus Sony a7 III camera. Now, in the real world, I enjoyed using the two cameras in photography. Both of them are great and feature slightly different experiences. Now, during the shoot, I made sure to keep every camera at auto white balance. I don't usually do that, but checking each camera capability is a better move. I will be checking the images for the first time on my computer, and you're gonna see the difference if there is any. I couldn't determine a consistent behavior. Many times I see Canon auto white balance tends to be colder. A few other times it's a bit warmer or close to Sony auto white balance. Here, for example, the two cameras aren't perfect in my opinion. They should meet somewhere in the middle. And here when some of my Lightroom presets are applied to the images. See before and after. There is a prime native 35mm f1.8 lens on each body. We got Sony on Sony and Canon on Canon. 35mm is kinda urban lens. You can use it in wide and medium shots at the same time. I bought the two cameras myself, however this video is sponsored by Vaxis. Vaxis got two interesting products for every filmmaker: Vaxis A5 wireless monitor with a proxy recorder, and Vaxis 95mm circular filters for Tilta Mirage matte box. Both products were tested on the channel, and I will keep the full review links down below. By the way, the viewfinder scene you see here in my video were recorded on Vaxis A5 monitor. In natural light, I had a great autofocus performance with both the a7 IV and the R6 Mark II. Here in the shoot, I forgot to switch Sony a7 IV focus zone from selected area to wide, but doesn't really matter as the camera autofocus goes to the eye first. No doubt, both cameras feature eye autofocus and work very well. I can tell R6 Mark II has a slightly better eye autofocus performance. Few times I would say Sony a7 IV jumps from eye autofocus to face detection, even though the eye is showing on camera already. However, with the R6 Mark II you can change the eye autofocus from one eye to another, or from one person to another, just by using the thumb button to change between the available options. And that's a great solution when shooting people in such weddings and events. I sometimes struggle with Sony a7 IV, so I have to switch to selected areas and focus manually on the people I want. Sony a7 IV got 759 face detection autofocus points and 425 contrast detection autofocus points, while Canon R6 Mark II got 1053 face and contrast detection points. Guys, I hope you appreciate the effort I'm doing here. Show me some support and hit that subscribe button. I will be excited to see you always on the channel. And if you wish to support me more, check out my store. I got different preset packs for Adobe Lightroom and HLG LUTs. Thank you anyway. Now when checking the raw images of both cameras, I found a remarkable difference in file size. I shot compressed RAW in both cameras, but the average Sony a7 IV compressed RAW size is about 36 MB, while the average Canon R6 Mark II compressed RAW is between 8 and 15 MB. I understand that the sensor megapixels isn't the same in both cameras, but I feel the difference in raw file size is a bit too much. Anyway, in part 3 of the review, I will be testing the dynamic range and highlights and shadows recovery. I will keep the video link down below. The two cameras got a large grip. This wasn't a problem with the original Canon R6, but definitely was with Sony a7 III, the older one. Although the R6 Mark II features a slightly bigger body, I'm satisfied with the two cameras, and eventually I like having a cage on mine. Now the a7 IV has more custom buttons compared to the R6 Mark II. We get C1, C2, C3 and C4. A clickable scrolling wheel is another feature I miss in the R6. The a7 IV scrolling wheel has 4 buttons, up, down and both sides. Eventually the same buttons are customizable in the Sony system, however the R6 Mark II has a shortcut button called MFN, Manual Functions. This button offers a simplified menu with the most important settings you probably gonna need, such as focus area, white balance, autofocus mode, and more. Here in Canon R6 Mark II, I like how the focal length information shows on the screen for my reference. It's a cool feature I miss in Sony a7 IV. It's not a must, but it's nice to have this one. On the other hand, I'm pretty upset with Sony plug doors. A part of the screen is blocked when using the selfie mode and especially the HDMI door. And also limit the screen rotation when some of the doors are open or few cables are connected. The R6 doors, on the other hand, feature in my opinion a better solution. Sony used to have the same concept back in the a7 III, but now it's totally changed. Megapixels. Canon R6 Mark II featured 24.2 megapixels, while the Sony a7 IV sensor is 33 megapixels. Indeed, we get larger images with the a7 IV, but I learned during my career that megapixels isn't everything. Don't get me wrong, of course it matters, but you can live without the extra few megapixels. For example, 4K is just about 8 megapixels. Anyway, let me show you the differences a bit deeper. The R6 Mark II images are 6000 by 4000 pixels, while the images of the 33 megapixels Sony a7 IV are 7008 by 4672 pixels. Not really a significant difference. And in addition to JPEG, RAW, HEIF images format in both cameras, they got 14-bit images as well. The other difference I noticed is continuous shooting speed, which can make a difference for sports photography. The R6 Mark II can do 12 frames per second, while the a7 IV is limited to 10 frames per second. But what's more interesting is the switching mechanical to electronic shutter. The R6 Mark II now can do up to 40 frames per second instead of 12. But we have something called buffering. In a nutshell, it's the process needed to save the images. Although the a7 IV is limited to 10 frames per second, it can do about 828 RAW, or unlimited JPEG images on a single shoot. The R6 Mark II, on the other hand, can do just 110 RAW images, or 1000 JPEG. And when using the electronic shutter, it's limited to 75 RAW, or 190 JPEG images. There are different features for different photographers. Diving more into these cameras, we get a 3-inch touchscreen on both of them. The R6 has a better resolution at 1,620,000 dots. The a7 IV is 1,036,800. Whereas both cameras' viewfinder are very close in resolution. The two cameras, R6 Mark II and Sony a7 IV, feature in-body sensor stabilization. Here I got two handheld samples from both cameras at 50mm f1.8. First handheld, and now with some parallax movement. This was Sony, and now it's Canon. Oh, the R6 Mark II is damn steady. It's remarkably steadier than Sony a7 IV. Now with some parallax movement. The 50mm lenses used on both cameras have no image stabilization, and we only rely on the camera sensor 5-axis stabilization. Alright, now testing walking stabilization. It's Sony here, and now Canon. Wow, the R6 blew my mind. I did not expect the R6 to outstand the A7 IV, but it does. Now here we got another example with camera built-in digital stabilization. Lens options. At the time of this video, there are no third-party autofocus lenses for Canon RF mount. The only option available is native Canon lenses. No third-party lenses are available for the RF. It seems like Canon doesn't really want any competitor in the market at the moment, so you will be only limited to manual focus lenses from third-party. On the other hand, Sony has an open source for their mount, the E-mount. You got Tokyo lenses, Tamron, Sigma, Samyang, and Rokinon. You got plenty of options to choose from, and that's no doubt offers more lenses in the market at a competitive price. Photographers should take that into consideration when buying a camera. You're buying the system, not only the body. The two cameras are great for photography. I didn't really feel I'm missing a major feature in any of them. Although the R6 is a step ahead and calls attention to new autofocus features, the A7 IV still's a great camera. It does perfect in real world. Got a higher megapixel sensor, and you got the option to crop your images if needed. If you're already a Sony user and own a couple of E-mount lenses, the A7 IV is a great camera to own, and supports way more lenses than Canon. The R6, on the other hand, has a faster frame rate and eventually an advantage in sports photography. If you prefer any of the two systems, you're not gonna be wrong with any of these cameras. I hope this video helped in making your decision from a photography perspective, and we'll see you in part 2 of the review where I check the same cameras in video mode. It's gonna be exciting. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and show me thumbs up. This was Oma, and see you guys in the next one.